defiendes a quienes te odian y te temen. Este es tu destino. De las cenizas resurgirá un nuevo Edén.
A ver, yo agradecería una profecía más clara y concisa, la verdad.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that we wanted to do something completely new with it, but it is the same character. So the thing was, the character itself is so big. Like, I'm from this theater, so I've seen like 15 people play Hamlet, and the character of Hamlet is so large that you can highlight different aspects of him. He can be like, you know, more the student prince, or more the, you know, lover, and more the, I mean, there are different ways to highlight him, and it's the same with Hellboy. Like, the Hellboy character himself is so broad and goes through so much through the comics that you can start him at different places, you can highlight different aspects of him. So one of the things we wanted to do was make him kind of younger. I mean, first of all, he has hair, which is cool, but he's not quite balding yet. But he also is just younger in his psyche, and he struggles with his dad, which is something, and he struggles with his place in the world. He's an orphan who doesn't understand why he was taken in and other monsters are being killed. He doesn't understand what makes him sort of special in that way. And it's sort of him uncovering why he's good and not evil that is very appealing to me. And the sacrifices he may have to make, almost genetically, destiny we call it in the film, but it's like almost genetically inherent to him that he'd have to make to be a good person. He's gonna have to cut off these things about himself. And that struggle was very interesting to me. And of course the like darker tones of the color palette and the horror and the gore of it and the brutality of the world was all something that was attractive to me too, that Hellboy lives in this brutal world and who he is and what he's become as a result of that. So yeah, we wanted to highlight kind of all these different things that we didn't feel had been highlighted before. So in that way, you're playing the same character, but you're also using the things that attract you about this world and really trying to bring those to the surface. It was very hard. I mean, it was something that I'd never done before. Like, you have these layers and layers and pounds of makeup, so to express what you feel is tricky. And in fact, before we started shooting, because they can't apply that when you rehearse, but before we started shooting, I would put like little weights on my face and even on my forehead and stuff like that, and just see when I felt something if my face moved in the same way. And so that was really important. And also, you know, I was really creating a character that was much broader than myself. A lot of the work that I do as an actor is, you know, kind of subtle and sometimes underplayed, and this couldn't really be that way. You know, it had to be, he had to be a different, like almost like playing a rhinoceros. Like, it's so different than you that you have to incorporate this different instrument. Like, he talks differently, where it comes from in his body is different. He moves his body differently, and all that stuff was really tricky. But inherently what I wanted to do is to take these physical positions, almost these expression things, and then work from the outside in, and then sort of cultivate where those where that behavior comes from and what emotions sort of fuel that behavior. But it was a very different process than I was used to, but it was, in that way, it's also fun too, because you really have to step up and learn something new. Yeah, I think we were. But I also think that, you know, that's the fun thing, is like, you know, you need to do what you think is true and not worry so much. And I think that a lot of stuff, when you're making big movies, can be a little bit glossed over, sugar-coated to appeal to the broadest audience possible. And I think one of the fun things is that we do take those risks and we go like, look, this is a brutal world, and we're talking about the apocalypse here. We're not talking about like a PG-13 apocalypse. It's like a brutal apocalypse. And I sort of applauded the filmmakers in terms of allowing that brutality to come through and to not sort of pull back from it. I think it's kind of great. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that appealed to me most about Hellboy when I first looked at him was like he is an orphan, right? Like he gets spawned by these Nazi occultists and then taken in by a human being. And in that way, he is an alien being. He's a demon, this inherently bad seed, so to speak. And then he's brought up to fight for humans. And so the real dilemma becomes, why me? Like, and I think that's something that, you know, I'm not an orphan, but I think that has to cross the minds of people that have been adopted or something. Is like, why did you choose me? Why? And that was something that was very interesting to me. Is like the, you know, there's sort of a confusion about what makes, you know, what makes him special that he was chosen, and also what made him sort of abandoned in a certain way. And I think that particular struggle was very human to me, and I wanted to bring that to the character. And then this, you know, never really understanding his dad's love. In a sense, the relationship with his dad that's hard, that makes him a killer, is almost paradoxical, because he's saying, like, I care about you, how do you feel? Now go out and kill these things. You know, there is this paradox to that love that is confusing to him as well. But the thing that's most confusing to him is, I think it's a beautiful face. Like, he says things to him where he says, like, you know, you were just you, and I wanted you to be you. And almost that simplicity is like so utterly confusing to this character. And I kind of love that about this movie. Like, it's a very simple idea that he struggles with, but it seems very true to me. It's something that I myself struggle with in terms of like love.
Who would win in a fight, Eleven or Hellboy?
Oh man, I think they'd both find each other so cute and adorable. I think they'd probably just hug it out.
I'm sure they will.
Sé mi rey. Nuestro destino es estar juntos.
Cierto, pero no saldría bien, más que nada, porque yo soy Capricornio y tú estás como una cabra.